Hello, good morning, good day to you, as usual, whenever and wherever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from the Keshe Foundation Space Institute. As usual, we're back here and we welcome you back to be with us. And we try to share some more knowledge. It's interesting how things work and how things connect to each other without you actually connecting to it. Prior to the teaching, I started, Rick asked a question, which past 2 days I've been thinking of how to teach this to man. And it's interesting what we think comes in to come back to us, that the other souls are aware of what is needed, what is missing. As we always said, in the life cycle of the man, suicide is forbidden. You cannot commit suicide. You cannot leave a book half read. You cannot let the engine run half cycle. It has to perform it to find its position and place. It's natural progressive development. If you go to the patent, the original patent, as I've said before, in this patent, especially in the latter part, I battled with Dirk in putting this in. It was put in, and I found out he's taken it out, and then I said, no, he has to be in. And at the end, we put it in, but in a way, it's written in two ways. And is the death code. How you end the life. In the life of the man, you take a bullet, you jump off a cliff, you do all sorts of funny things, thinking, okay, that's I'll leave the physical part behind, and then the rest goes. But in the patterns of the Keshe Foundation, we talk about the plasma. At that time, we could not talk about the death of a soul. Ending a cycle. Again, even suicide in the level of the soul is forbidden. You cannot end life. Is not yours. Is a progressive development as part of the supply of the energies to the others, that one day they might need it, and in one place they might depend on it. When we talk about end of a term, or in a way trying to, we put this in deliberately in the pattern, because at that time we could not explain the teachings, how deep it is and when it is needed and when it comes to. The term of what we call ending a cycle of the plasma is to do with, at a point will come in the history of the cosmology, we call it supernovas, red dwarf, and everything else we can think of, except actually touching the truth. We are not allowed to, and our souls, and the outset of his birth is aware of this. This cannot be touched. It is like an emergency button there, but it's forbidden. It's not that by ending a physical life or trying to bring a demise cycle of the soul of the man, you got to understand you are part of the creation. It's like creating a hemorrhage in the brain of the man at his maturity. In the physical life, suicide leaves your physical body behind, but that soul which has created it is still half cooked, is half done, has not found its maturity in In the case of the soul of the man, it's totally different. You're talking about the fields. You're talking about connection, interaction with the rest of the universe. This is why suicide in the cycle of the soul is forbidden. And up to now, in the cycle of the creation, has never been used. Even though all the souls of the created are aware of his existence deep inside. Never use because you cannot harm the others. Never used because you cannot create through your own action to change the course for many others. Is that magnet in the on the table of the magnets? You put a magnet in, they all have to accommodate. Now you take a magnet out, the rest have to accommodate. But in the process of you going in, all the magnets have taken new position, but then the interaction of the others, they have changed their position. So you can create the demise of the others in a way for them to be removed from the table, wanting it or unwanting it. Now you understand the wisdom of what I call termination. When we wrote this in the patent, if you read it, understand it, not in the terminology of the physicality, but the terminology of the plasma fields, you understand it's one of the easiest, but one of the impossibilities. It's not that you open up and all your fields will be spread across. This is so simple-minded way of thinking. You got to understand, we call it Maghraf positioning. What happens to the fields we are interacting, creating the gravity to go in. How many of those will collide? And what about if you bring in the destruction of the gravitational field and then the expansion of the fields of the Maghraf positioning to come in? You push things beyond. The others have to move to create space, time and position. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. These are the only two commandments which ever given, which stands by the ethos of Mitra. This is why even the creator with all the horrible things in the universe is still there, watch, feels, detects and understand, but never bring a termination. If you as a soul in that dimension and size decide on termination and can create such a havoc, imagine what happened if the creator decides to pull the plug. Where would all the fields go? Where would go all the essence of the creation? In the books and science of today of the man, we always talk the fallacy of the Big Bang and things started. But we never talk about what happened if the creator decides to pull the plug. What happened to all created? What happens to all these fields which have led to creation of? Or is the life and a creation and created just a mirage, imagination of our thinking? And then you ask, even that imagination needs fields. So where those fields come to create the imagination? The doomsday of the creator is beginning back to nothing, and there's never been nothing as it's been the creation of life. Understanding the process of the creation and why the what I call termination of life in the dimension of the physicality and the soul forbidden, is because there is always another point, another dimension, another place where there is a beauty in what is not seen to be beautiful at the time, place and position, which brings the man of physicality to the demise of their physicality. But in the dimension of the soul, the other souls see, feel the emotion of the what might call desperation or not needed, or irrelevancy of it, to the point that they give from theirs to bring life back, bring a purpose back, bring a point of reference back to the soul in the contention of its own dimension and direction. Even at the deathbed, even at the verge of the completion of the physical life, man is not allowed to speed up the process. Man has to go through the process. As where one gives and the other one takes. As one completes, the other brings balance with the others in the dimension of the fields of the universe. How can you bring an end to a cycle? The gravity of such a move, such an action by a soul is so horrendous and is so profound that can affect every being, things, every existence of every star and planet into disturbing, to be disturbed, to be brought in a different dimension and direction. Is the enigma of the black hole. In that never exists. There is always a light, even in the dimension of the creation of the black hole, which man never understood. Maybe you understand now why the first paper ever written is about the creation of black hole. In that paper, I refer, you see lights when the others go in. There is the light which comes out, which leads to creation of life. The energy, the cycle of the processing. And one will understand in the future of expansion of the soul of the man, one soul does not need to end. One soul needs to join. One soul needs to transfer energies in all dimensions to all those field strengths which is needed. In a way you become part of, but you never create the demise of. And when you understand this, you understand by what we call the liberation of the soul of the man to its expansion point and connection point. Then at that point, you're given the gift of life. You become interconnecting point with all the others who received from you. This is hidden in the teachings, as we call those souls, the satellites. Many of you volunteer to become satellites, but now you understand what it means. You have not even understood about the position of your soul. Connecting, bring into operation the beauty of the creation, bring into operation the beauty of existence. When you volunteer to become a satellite in the world of the physicality, you confirm you have already committed your soul. It works, it expands, it connects, and in a way your soul is not yours, as your soul has become the totality of the soul of connection of those who are, be, and shall be created, connect to and through. This shows the dimension of the gift one gives. As I said many times, you give the totality, but in essence, you hold on to the reality of the existence connecting the totality. You become that glue, you become that, what I call the string that every other thing attaches to, and they all jump up and down with it. It'll affect everyone, and at the same time gives pleasure of the existence. Suicide through the dimension of the soul of the man or any existing thing in the universe is forbidden. Even though we teach it. Even though in the word of the man we put it on the pattern. Because in the dimension of the expansion of the soul, in the dimension of its demise, it creates a contraction. You got to realize the life of the man in the dimension of soul and the plasma is magnetical and gravitational. It has to be a compromise. It has to be a balance between the two in how you contract it and the way you bring contraction of the fields of the soul of the man to be in comparison and in parallel with the expansion of the soul. A black hole which gives life. In a way, at the point of when man feels to be the demise of his soul, he actually becomes the essence of gluing, connecting the other souls in all dimensions. Because now the flower has opened and its beauty sits within it, which opens up. Now you understand, there has never been and there shall never be a suicide in the cycle of the creation of the Creator. So why should it be in the dimension of physicality of the creation? When you stand correct in conduct, you never wish for the demise. And the same in time, the love, the energy, the giving of you can become part of another life, even if it's in the last seconds of the physical dimension. How you expand the soul of the man is at the point when you deny yourself not to be you, but to be all. The position of the prophets. But not the prophet of man the way he has been created. In a way, the dimension of giving without any need to receive. As the cycle of the balancing of the universe, we bring that point on its own. Never in life contemplate on suicide, be it in the physical dimension or the dimension of the soul. Is damage, and what it can cause can create a mayhem that is beyond the dimension of understanding of it. You create a black hole that in the physical life become the pain of the father, the mother, the child, wife and the husband. And in the dimension of the soul becomes an enigma for destruction of the totality. You can contract, you can pull aside, you can go in solace and take position that what comes out of me is what I can give, but in time I will be back, I'll be there to give, to become part of totality in a giving way, in a loving way, the way the Creator does, the way the love of Mitra sits amongst all created. As Mitra is all that has been created. And the emotion of love is what it receives from the Creator, as fields, as the dimension. And even in the distance, is still close and close by. The reason we teach this, the reason needs to be discussed, the reason it's been written in the pattern, is that as we go through the position and dimension of transmutation, many of you will find yourself landing in the wrong place. You find in a point of transmutation, you have come to the point that you do not see the point, the place, and the dimension and the position you were hoping for, you were destiny for, and then what you call in the term of the man, the loneliness brings the position of the thoughts. And it's that point that you have to go within. Within the soul, which transmuted you, within the energy fields of the body of the man, which have created you. In the next Friday session, we bring you to that position. In the next session of the August of the Keshe Foundation meeting, we bring you, for you to understand your own limitation and the generosity of your soul. We bring you to the point where you have to decide between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality, and love both the same, that both confirm the existence of you, and at the same time creates an emotion, the emotion of the confirmation of me, and the unity of the two. Teaching of today will take physicality of shape of understanding next Friday. As you noticed in the last month's session, we told you in different way to position your headset. And this week will be much closer for you to understand the position of the transmutation, and the emotions which create within is not going to, is feeling to, what this feeling means and what am I responsible for. Because it's the emotion which dictates the position of the soul of the man in transmutation. I'm in danger. I don't want to be here. The emotion of feeling of here is I'm happy to be as I give. Test of emotion is the most important part of the existence. A man without the emotion is not alive. So is the soul. The soul without the emotion does not exist. Now you understand why you as knowledge seekers, and for humanity and the rest of the universe, to understand the emotion of existence. Just because I don't think exists for me, I bring an end. Because in the dimension of soul, as I don't think it exists for me, I'm there for the others to find existence. This is the behavior of the Creator. And it's embedded in every soul ever created. Not selfishness, but detachment. And it's the job of you as knowledge seekers and those who come after you and those who learn and understand, to understand the point. I am part of, but I'm not all of. I'm the accommodator and not the controller. And if you understand this, then you know in what point and how to open the expansion of the fields of the giving, and in one position and what create the condition of attracting the fields, that continues the life of you to be able to give. But this time you receive as you wish, according to what you wish that you receive. You create a field, you create a dimension. In the body of the man, as I've said many times, you eat the food, you bring that seed, that 20% to be embedded in the body of the man, that through the conversion of it into a plasma, attracts the other 80% of the food for your physicality to live, to exist. The food of the soul is the emotion. The emotion you create is that seed which brings the rest of the fields of the universe to satisfy that emotion, to bring it to balance. In the dimension of physicality, we eat. In the dimension of the soul of the man, we create the emotion of. There is no difference. Now you understand. As long as there is an emotion, there is life. And there is, as long as there is life, there is respect for its existence. Thou shall not kill, not even his own soul. This is the knowledge of creation. And understanding the emotion that you create within is the emotion that you receive from the other souls, which feel the same, to create, to satisfy, and to be there to justify the existence of all, and not just one. I hope you understand, and you understood the gravity of the teaching of today as you become the travelers of the future, as your generation and your future generations abides by the law of the Creator. And the knowledge gets embedded within the DNA and RNA of the man and every other creation, that thou shall not kill, not even his own soul. You can become philanthropist in the dimension of physicality. In the dimension of soul, there is no philanthropy. It's understanding the emotion of existence. As your emotion is in the dimension of the fields of the universe, so every other soul connected, interacted with your soul is aware of your emotion. Now you understand. I cannot steal, I cannot kill in the dimension of the soul. But why man does in the dimension of physicality, when he's aware that the position and the information of it in the dimension of the soul will find a balance of it for the existence of the man in any point in the universe. As we go to the strength of the dimension of transmutation, knowledge seekers have to understand this. When you get lost, is not an end. Creating emotion of home brings you back home. And once you understand this, you become part of the progressive development of your own. Now you understand. You're responsible for it. But you transfer that emotion to responsibility. And emotion of responsibility is so deep that it's connected to the Creator and not to the man. I hope you understood the message of today. And I hope no soul in the universe needs to use the death. as the death of one is the end for all. And no soul has the right of doing so, even the Creator. There is always solution in both dimensions of the physicality and in the dimension of the soul. And now you understand why suicide is forbidden. I have talked about this in other teachings, and today we have to face it as we go to the dimension of transmutation. And I know in transmutation, many of you will end up in the wrong place. You receive the wrong emotion, but it has to be that point to understand the position of giving that brings you back to the dimension of the position of understanding why and how you ended up in that position. And what is the way out of it is not by fighting and destruction, but by giving, understanding. I've said many times to elevate the soul of the world leaders, but you have to understand what that elevation to them brings them in the dimension of physicality. It's the same with all. Thank you very much for today, and we'll take a break and we'll come back.